Hello, everybody, and welcome to something new and exciting, The Vintage Voice, which is a podcast about all things senior related. And when I say senior, I mean aging population. So we are your hosts. I'm going to introduce myself. I am Kira Peters, and I am here with my favorite colleague.
Hi, I'm Jessica Rapp.
And the podcast is brought to you by the City of Scottsdale Senior Services. So Jessica and I have this idea of talking about all the things relative to aging. And we both have worked and work at our senior centers here in Scottsdale. And we're really finding seniors are a large demographic, aren't they, Jessica, in this community?
I think one of the largest in the community. I think it's the largest demographic here in Scottsdale.
It is the largest demographic, so we'll say that right now. And we want to just talk about everything that we see at our senior centers, but also talk about topics that have come up relative to aging. And Jessica, why don't you talk a little bit about, I think what's interesting is when we were talking about this podcast, it's not just people who are seniors or aging or older adults. It's really more than that. So, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, Kira. So I think that, we all have aging people in our families, parents. Could be, I think both of us are children of seniors. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with either caregiving for a family member or their parents are aging and they just want to get them involved or find resources, referrals. And I think the information is so important to get out to the community, and everybody's affected, whether or not that they need, basic needs met, or they want to get their senior family member involved in recreation or special events, get them busy, working out, fitness. There's so many things that we collectively do at the Scottsdale Senior Centers.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. And really, Jessica, I know that this is our first podcast, so it's really going to be all about the vintage voice and what this podcast is going to be. So today will be more introductory, both for me and you, and then to talk really about just some things that the vintage voice, this podcast relative to aging, will cover. And I love that you said all of that stuff. And I also think, with the person, I'm in my 50s and I want to plan for when I'm older. So I think even in addition to caring for seniors, you are a senior, you're a person, we're all going to be seniors someday. So this podcast is going to really be holistic and talk about a lot of different topics relative to aging. And with that, just to make sure that the audience knows that we know what we're talking about when it comes to connecting and socialization with seniors, let's each talk about a little bit of our high-level background.
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to remind you to, to focus.
Go over that?
Yes. So I am Jessica Rapp, and I have worked for the City of Scottsdale for 25 years. I just celebrated my 25th year.
Congrats, Jessica.
Thanks. I've always been in community services, but most of my career has been in senior services at the Granite Reef Senior Center. I've also worked at the Via Linda Senior Center, along with Vista del Camino and Parks and Recreation. So I have a lot of background in services to the community, but my heart is really at the senior centers, and that's why I am where I'm at now, and I've intentionally worked hard to be at the Granite Reef Senior Center because it just really holds a special place in my heart, and I love serving the senior community.
I'm going to pause right there, too, to take a moment to congratulate you, Jessica, because you just got a promotion to this manager position. And
thanks,
I really
Kira.
mean it that we are very lucky to have you. So
thank you.
Definitely.
So happy.
Jessica has a lot of experience. And my name is Kira Peters, and I currently am serving as the Human Services Director. And similar to Jessica, I have experience working at both Via Linda and Granite Reef Senior Center. I've also had some time in Parks and Recreation and the public library system. So again, very similar to Jessica, just community service. That is, my passion is building community, and I think we're both fortunate enough to have jobs where we get paid to build community. And really what we're going to talk about today, the importance of socialization and connection. So with our backgrounds in recreation and senior services, they really we're finding more and more that those two connected are really important as people get older. So
definitely.
So what do you think, Jessica? You want to move on to, do we need to intro any more to the vintage voice? Or do you want to move on to talking about a little overview of the senior centers? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should jump in and do our little overview of all things, the history, a little historical background of the senior centers.
All right, go for it then.
Okay, so I was reviewing my historical notes in my office that I keep right by my desk. I'm just joking. I don't keep that right by my desk. But did you know, Kira, that the Chestnut Park House right on Granite Reef was the first senior center, and it opened in 1976?
Is that the little schoolhouse, or the little house, I will say, that's right kind of behind Navajo Elementary School? Camelback and Granite Reef Road was a senior center?
Yeah, it was our first senior center. And then we moved to Civic Center Senior Center, and then there was a bond project in 1995. Via Linda is going to be celebrating its 30th anniversary in March.
Wow. Gosh,
Yeah,
I
30
kind of
years.
feel old myself because I remember when that opened up.
Yeah.
Wow. And Civic Center, let's go back in history, because Civic Center, which is kind of right near, I'm going to get the roads wrong, but it's kind of right by Scottsdale Center for Performing Arts, that land there, that was...
Yeah, it's a
Civic,
parking lot now.
Yeah, it's a parking lot now, but that was the Civic Center Senior Center. Drink water in that area right by Scottsdale Center for the Arts.
Yeah, that was open until 2005. I actually worked there for 2 months before the Granite Reef Senior Center opened. Maybe it was 2006. But then the Granite Reef opened in 2006, so we're approaching our 20-year anniversary pretty soon.
Yeah. And Granite Reef was really, I think, really trend-setting because they were I'm going to call it the Green LEED certified building.
Yeah, we're gold certified.
Oh, geez, gold certified. Yeah, so really cool and still an amazing facility. So, Jessica, I'm really impressed with your historical knowledge there of the senior centers. You are something else. How about some of the services, Jessica? I mean, especially since you're at Granite Reef and most recently you've spent a lot of time at Via Linda, I think it would be interesting for these listeners to know, really what makes a senior center special. And, I have a dad who is in his late 70s who will not go to a senior center. I mean, I don't want to be controversial here, but there are some people, I think that they think senior centers have a stigma, and I think they think of senior centers in a certain way. I mean, do you want to go there and talk about that? Are you afraid of that?
No, I'm not afraid. Bring it on, Kira. I just recently saw something online that says we're not just a senior center that does bingo. And the senior centers have a stereotype, like where you just go, you play cards or bingo, which we do there.
And that's
but
fun.
That's not all we do.
Okay.
And yes, bingo is fun. Everybody loves bingo. But we also, we have a holistic approach. We have social services. We have caseworkers at the senior centers. We have recreation. But most importantly, when we bring both of those things together, we build connection. So when somebody comes in looking for resources for their themselves or a family member, and then they come into our centers and they're like, wow, these centers are beautiful. Like I never even knew this was here. Can you give me a tour? We give them tours, and they are amazed by all the things that we offer and how beautiful our buildings are. Mm-hmm. They're not traditional rundown, older senior centers. They're new, nice facilities, and we offer so much at both of them. We do special events monthly. We do, like I said, bingo, cards and games. Fitness. We have 2 gyms. Mm-hmm. 2 gyms that we do fitness classes, leisure education classes. We partner with Parks and Recreation. We do art classes, excursions. We have 2 billiards rooms.
Yeah.
Yoga, aerobics. We have outside at Granite Reef, we have a putting green and a bocce ball court, and we have the equipment that they could rent out if people want to just come in and enjoy the outdoors. We have our 2 signature events, which are the Senior Expo in February and the Arts and Crafts Fair in November, where we pull in around 2,000 people at those events, and we just really get people involved in different ways and kind of whatever you're interested in, whatever hobby you want to pick up, we pretty much have that at the Senior Center. And if we don't, we're willing to listen and incorporate that in our programming.
Yeah, nice job. And I think one thing that I would add to that is, and we're going to, as this podcast goes on, the Vintage Voice, I want to keep saying that so we start like branding this super cool podcast. But the other thing is food, congregate meals and food. And there's a lot of different topics that we want to dive into, dementia friendly, nutrition. So Jessica just scraped the surface of what we do. And again, this episode is really just an intro. And I think Jessica did a really good job of just really showing the dynamic nature of a senior center. And you know what? Speaking of the events, Jessica, Happy Valentine's Day is coming up, so Happy Valentine's Day to you coming up.
Thanks. I love Valentine's Day. We do a Valentine's luncheon and dance at Granite Reef to celebrate. But speaking of that, you worked at the Senior Center for a couple years in your career. What are some of the things that you remember that you loved about working there?
One of my favorite things, Jessica, was I can remember it was one of the special events and it was dances. It was a dance and it was in the ballroom at Granite Reef and we had an amazing band. And I have to say the seniors were all there dancing. And really, they were very good dancers, so really good dancers. But I thought what I liked about that was we had some high school volunteers, and they were jumping in and dancing as well. So it was very active. It was great music. It was a beautiful night. And really just being around people that are happy and enjoying themselves, the staff, the seniors, the volunteers. It was just a feel good. And I don't know about you. I know that we're going to talk about this when we get ready to wrap up. The laughter and how funny everybody is. There's a lot of humor that goes on at the senior centers, and that's another one of my favorite things. How about you? What's one of your favorites?
Just speaking of the ballroom dance, we just had a ballroom dance at Granite Reef a couple weeks ago, an evening dance, and that was amazing. It was nice to see people out in the evenings on a Saturday evening. It was our first night event that we've had in a while, and everybody showed up. We had about 70 people there. It was amazing. And then last month, time just kind of flows together in my brain. But in November for our Thanksgiving luncheon, we had adapted services volunteers come in and help serve the seniors. And it was really nice to bridge together that partnership. And they're going to keep coming to our special events. And I just really like connecting people and using their strengths and kind of just seeing it all come together. That's my favorite part of the job. And also the seniors. Funny story is every day we have a gym at Granite Reef, and I've got it. We've got the regulars that come in, and I have these two seniors, Jim and Walt, and every time I say, "Hey, good morning. How's your day going?" And Jim always says, this is his direct quote, "Well, I'm still vertical, so things are good." And then Walt will say something similar, like, "Well, I'm still above ground looking at the grass, so I'd say I'm good." And that really sticks with me because it puts things in perspective. Like, we're still here. We're still lucky to be here, grateful to be here. They're still making the most of their days, coming to the center, staying healthy, staying active. And I think that it shows for those seniors that do stay active, you can really tell the difference in their aging process.
Yeah, and I know I just wanted to add to that. I really like that. Stay healthy, stay vertical. Like that should really turn into our tagline for this. But I think one thing that I want to point out, and I hope that this podcast will do, and you and I talked a little bit about this as we were just talking about the podcast, we really want to share information. So many people are isolated, and we hear about that all the time. People lonely at home, isolated, they're not connected, they lose a purpose. And I've seen that firsthand in my personal life, that happening. So really what this podcast aims to do is really share the information. Hopefully this will strike a chord and get people out so that they can socialize, meet new friends, stay active, be connected, and have a purpose. And, as we age, that's more and more important to maintain your vertical standing, is to stay connected, and you want to be happy doing it. So we kind of mentioned a little bit some of the things we're going to be talking about, but, outside of even dementia, which can be a hard topic and a sad topic, then you talk about pickleball and how many people are playing pickleball, and not just seniors. I've got a 22-year-old, she plays pickleball.
Right.
So this podcast is going to talk about the gamut. And I, Jessica, hope that we can also talk about things that are innovative and new. And geez, I wish this was one of those radio shows like people could call in and say, what about this? Maybe we can get to that someday to
hopefully.
where people can give ideas, because we want our senior centers to stay on the cutting edge and do new and exciting things, and maybe dip our toe in multi-generational programming. Who knows? But we've got a lot of good things to talk about coming up. So with that was a really good intro, I think, to the vintage voice.
Yes.
But what can we look forward to at our next podcast? Who's going to be our guest? We need guests.
So our first guest is, our topic for March or April, I'm not sure yet.
We know time is blurring for you.
Disregard all of that specific stuff. But the next podcast episode, we're going to talk about all things social services, and our special guest is going to be the lovely Human Services Operations Supervisor, Jennifer Murphy. Jennifer's been with Senior Services. She's worked her whole city career in Senior Services, and she's the supervisor over all of the caseworkers. She's so knowledgeable. She's planning our dementia-friendly event in April, so hopefully we'll be able to touch base on dementia, caseworkers, basic needs, all the things that they see, and all the resources and referrals and things that they can help the community with.
She's going to be a great guest. She is an amazing resource, and I think any client who's ever had the opportunity to meet with her, she's been very helpful. So this is a great platform for Jennifer Murphy to be able to share what she knows, all relative to social services. So with that, Jessica, this was really fun. I like this. This is fun doing a podcast.
I know, it's so fun, and I love our name, The Vintage Voice.
The Vintage Voice. All right. Well, you want to do our wrap with our, do you think we can steal this line? We're going to do the closing? Okay.
I think we should. Okay. In honor of Jim, it's going to stick with us. Thanks for joining us today. We're looking forward to bringing you and your family all things senior in Scottsdale. Stay healthy and stay vertical. Till next time.
See you later. Bye, Jessica.
Bye, Kira.